Greetings, fellow travelers. Welcome to my deep dive series, where I, MS Arthadian, dive into alternative tabletop role-playing games much like Reborn in Power, and what sets them apart from the TTRPG behemoth, Dungeons and Dragons. This series is an exploration into systems and settings that make up epic stories to be told. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. All right. Greetings, fellow travelers and storytellers. Welcome to the Arthadian Anthologies podcast. And today I have two guests on to detail out a new tabletop role-playing game called Alchemy. You all know one of them, who is actually the operator of our chosen Marmaduke 9 in the New Age campaign, Matt Waterhouse. On the other hand, we have a newcomer to the podcast, the official developer of the Alchemy system, Lee Simmonds. Welcome to the podcast.
Goodness, official developer. This is
official developer, yeah.
Gosh.
And hello again.
Yes. So, before we get started on Alchemy, can the two of you tell myself and the audience of how Alchemy got started and all the fun stuff behind, like the backstory of this system?
Is it fun? Do it. Is it fun, Arthadian? We'll find out if it's fun. So I have known Matt for over half my life now. Maybe over half my goodness. And we were avid Dungeons and Dragons fans. I ran a game, a long-standing game for a couple of years. With a bunch of guys, and Matt was heading off to China to teach English as a foreign language, and I was a DM, and they all wanted to play a sci-fi game when they came back, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can sort of put something together like that. I can put a story together like that. I had about 6 months to do it, and I was like, yeah, easy, no problem. So I'm looking at it, going through it, I'm building the story, then I'm looking at sort of we were playing in 4th edition at that point, and I'm sort of looking at the system and the mechanics and everything, and I'm thinking it doesn't quite fit. Now, this was my first introduction to tabletop role-playing games, and I didn't know how sort of vast the banquet was of role-playing games. Really, it could have stopped there if I knew that there wasn't just D&D out there. I could have picked something like the Star Wars role-playing system or something like that. It could have stopped there, and we would not be having this conversation. Instead, what I did was I was trying to sort of tease out the mechanics and change them into a sci-fi setting, and then I had the bright idea of going, I'll make my own system. Mistake. Okay. So Matt comes back. We may have played a sci-fi. We may have not even. I think by that point I was neck deep in building a system that was specifically built for a sci-fi setting. This was Alchemy 1.0. I don't even think it was called Alchemy back then. I think it was called Darklight.
It was called Dark Star.
Yeah, it was called Dark Star. Okay, Dark yes. Star. The setting is now Darklight, yes. So that was there, and that was the beginning of, I think I've counted it, about 14 iterations, going through it, playtesting it, changing it around it, and now having pretty close to a really robust and exciting system called the Alchemy Role-Playing Toolkit. And that started, honestly, I think about 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah. I mean, I'm actually kind of down the same route as you. I had, I don't know how many iterations, because the thing about how I started was I was focused more on like the setting and matching the system to the setting itself. And I only had like one like multiverse that I had created in order to immerse my friends and my peers into my universe, and that was like the whole point of why I created what I created was so that I can actually bring people into the stories that I was already telling, that I was already writing. And then after many different iterations of game mechanics and different things, I ended up partnering with my partner at the time, and we started making trying to merge our games together and universes together. And I know the curse of being a tabletop role-playing game developer.
It's a virus.
Yeah.
It's an absolute virus.
The crazy thing is that it's really fun to do. Like when you really make the mechanics and you start to see all the things starting to piece together, and you're just like, whoa, okay, that's really cool. That's something I would love to be able to play as inside my own game. But then you realize, like, oh, you have to be the one who's running it, like for other people. Yeah,
it is the really most fun and dangerous mind virus you can ever get.
Yeah.
And if you're like if you're somewhat of a perfectionist, like I am, part of it is if you're making one pages, which I am currently doing. Can it all fit on one page? How can I make it all fit on one page?
Yeah.
How can I adjust the fonts to make it fit on one page?
Even with that mindset,
what have I missed?
Yeah, even if you are making like a full, like, huge, massive book, you also have to think about the formatting of everything, and then like there's just so many things that go into it. You're basically you're basically writing a full on like a textbook.
It's a manual, isn't it?
It's a manual.
It's a technical manual.
Yeah,
this is what you're creating.
How I describe Reborn in Power is it's like the physical and metaphysical laws of the universe itself, and it's just it makes it so that, like, you have to basically come up with how like if you're in a fantasy setting, how magic works, and that, like, ties into the whole system itself. And sometimes you have to make it unique, and other times you also have to think about, like, whether or not other players who are going to end up picking up the game, they have to have their own setting implemented into the system. So also making it, like, setting agnostic in a way is another thing that I feel like most like developers nowadays have to think about when they're actually developing their game, because most people I would say, I've done a poll on this before on Twitter actually, but they mainly like having, like, already established franchises. So, like, the core realms, they're not gonna want to really play in it, like pick it up, because it's new and it's not something that they know about. But if it's Star Wars, then they'll probably pick it up and want to play in it. And you want, like, a system that would actually be able to incorporate Star Wars stuff in it, or like Lord of the Rings or anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But go ahead.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, and sort of two variants of the what I've called, the game maker virus that we've got here. You've gone down a very specific, a genre specific route with your thing, and I have tried so very hard not to do that. So it can be, you can use this in whatever system you want. I cannot imagine what it would be like to put in all of the metaphysical rules of magic and, like, how tech works, and, like, fast and light travel. Like, no, that's you guys. These are the mechanics.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, later on down the line, what we're looking at doing is sort of bringing out sort of like augmentations or sort of like genre books where you can come out. This is how we play, a Western. This is how we play sci-fi. Use this. These are sort of like jumping off points, but there is no way in hell, after the sort of the journey that I've gone through, to make this sort of be able to be used in anything, to then go into magic. No, I cannot.
Yeah.
I absolutely, that is a whole other, like, really, I can only imagine a really interesting, but difficult problem to face.
Yeah, it's I think it's an issue when it comes to marketing, because it, you know, like even Hollywood, like Hollywood has their whole thing where they have to take an existing franchise and, I mean, like run it into the ground, I would say, but like they take existing franchises in order to you know, have an actual fan base already built in. But if you're creating something new, then they're not going to, like, you're not going to have a fan base. You have to build it up, and that's like that's the biggest issue that I'm currently dealing with, is because I have like my own setting. I mean, I've attempted to put like my heart and soul into trying to establish a really like immersive and expansive universe. But you know, just getting people through the door and being able to just like have fun with it is the biggest issue. But let's go on to alchemy.
Okay.
So my first question is, what was the original goal behind alchemy as a system? Like, what do you aim to achieve with it specifically?
I mean, the original goal, as I said, like the guys wanted to play a sci-fi game, and we were all really into Mass Effect, and like outside of that, me and Matt, like we just bloody love space. I love it.
I know that with Marmaduke 9.
as soon as there's like everything that's happening at the moment, like with like sort of like the high altitude like balloons that can go up. I'm looking at these. We can go up there for 8 hours and like see them, or go to the moon or go to Mars. And like I hear so many people go, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I'm the first one there. Maybe not to Mars, because that means I have to die there.
Yeah.
If I can come back, I'm going. Right, I'm going. So like die-hard sci-fi fans. So that was the original thing for it. And then after a while, I was like, I like this, but I've had, and we've all had, like such incredible moments and memories through role playing. How can we get people into this, like really quite easily? So if like pretty much everyone's entry point is Dungeons and Dragons, when you come into a tabletop role playing game, and the two things you need to get, I think so, because there's so many fantastic games out there, you know, like Blades in the Dark, for example. I love that game. It's fantastic. Just like because I've like through all of like you know like role playing games that you're playing like a console or something, I'm always a thief. I'm so typecast when I come to playing role playing games. I just play just this devilish cat who just steals things and just like double talks people like into the dust. That's what I play. I play it on consoles. I play on the tabletop. Always the same. So Blades in the Dark was brilliant. The Star Wars one was brilliant. Some of the like the more you know like Cthulhu like cosmic horror inspired ones, really, really cool how they deal with like madness and insanity and things like that. But your gateway drug into tabletop role playing is Dungeons and Dragons. And the two things that happen are that you get a really, really big tome, like to create a character, because that's probably your entry point rather than being a dungeon master. As you've got to get this big book, and you've got to put a lot of the time and money into that. And
if you're the dungeon master, because one person has to be the dungeon master. They're basically the biggest spenders. They have to get the guide, like all the monster manuals, and prepping the campaign. There's just so much.
You're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get this game to the table.
Well, you're spending that equivalent in time.
Yeah.
Because I spend zero money on D&D.
Theater of the mind.
I think that's because you've got a lot of experience in it, though, Matt. I don't think you could run up to D&D and just go, I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. We've had a long time running D&D. So
I came into 5e very much like... I came into 5e just watching videos of it and going, okay, I think I can run that. Maybe. And off of playing it once and glazed donuts and all that.
I've only ran. I would say I've only ran 5e. I think I ran it like 1 or 2 sessions of 5e, and I modeled Reborn in Power kind of based off of 5e, but then I took away all the different aspects that would make it like super 5e. Like my friends, one of my players, he's always gives me shit because it's a D12 system and not a D20 system, and I didn't incorporate the D20 at all. And he just he's like, why can't I roll the D20? I'm like, you can't roll the D20 because it's a D12 system. Come on, man.
It's base 12.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. Like there is a lot of time and or money that you need to put into D&D in order to have a good time with it. Like if you're fresh off the boat, so to speak, there's a lot of time or money that you need to put into it. The second thing which you bring up is dice.
Yeah.
You know, no one's got a D12 lying around in their house unless someone, you know, like their older brother or something.
I don't know. I have like 10
role-playing games.
I have like 10. So
yeah. So I was like, okay, right. Can we cut out all of that? And what else could we use? Because the dice is to give, you know, chance and luck to a game. What else can you use? So
the idea was, what do people have on hand or can get very easily?
Yeah. So we came away from a dice system into just a regular deck of cards system. So every character will have a deck of cards, so that can still input the luck and chance that you really want from a role-playing game. You don't want to be playing in God mode all of the time. I mean, some people might, you know, when they min-max their characters and things like that. But by and large, you want to be like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? That brings the excitement to it. But also to bring in like a resource management system as well.
And strategy.
Yeah. Exactly, because you know you could succeed at everything you want to do, but maybe sometimes narratively you want to fail, because this was another thing that came out of like, what do me and my friends like doing? We like telling really good stories. So Matt is fantastic when it comes to his characters. Basically, myself and sort of the third creator of this game, Carl, we play very typecast characters. I play a roguish cad. Carl has been betrayed. Like that is it. They will be skinned differently, but largely Carl is the muscle who's been betrayed.
Yeah,
I'm the face. That's it. Like I'm the face who steals stuff, but Matt will create these really like exciting and different and imperfect characters, and we always like to play and have these really interesting stories. So it came away from being a role playing game to really being a storytelling, where this toolkit is there for you and your friends to sit down for a couple of hours, build a world, build some characters. Go through it, fight some people, talk your way out of things, think your way out of things, and have a really good time, and sort of look back on this years later and go, do you remember that time when we were in the Western game and we were talking about Tallahassee? You know, this was the first actual system that sort of the first setting that we run. We run a Western, sort of like a supernatural Western. Carl run it, and it was myself and Matt playing. And we just kind of sat at the table, just made up our characters. It was during the sort of the which war?
The Civil War.
Civil War. There we are.
Post-Civil War.
The big one that happened over there.
Yeah.
I was. We were on different sides, and we kept talking about Tallahassee. And that then became part of the game. I found out where Tallahassee was. It's somewhere in Florida, and this was nigh on sort of like 7 years ago that we played this game, and I can still remember those games. And I was like, this is great. This is what I want from this. So it started off, my friends wanted to play a sci-fi game, and then it came to, how do we get as many people through the door, ease of access into this fantastic world of tabletop role playing, where they can play pretty much whatever they want. They don't have to buy a lot of stuff for it, and if they have the imagination for it, they can create whatever they want.
Yeah, that's basically how I went about going into it too. But the thing is that your system, I feel like, is probably like more of like you can just get into it. You just have to have a deck of cards and then just learn the learn the rules. Whereas my system is it's mine. When I went into it, I wanted a just character customization to the extreme, and
absolutely,
and that's kind of like how I went about it. And I wanted to it's become a very big, like there's a lot of like different like elements and like moving things that goes on. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and so it's not. I wouldn't say it's the best game for a newcomer to tabletop RPGs. But then again, when I have played with like many of my like newer people, like people who have never played a game before, they have been able to pick it up, and like they pick it up at the same around the same rate as they would pick up D&D 5e. And so like I think that having like games that aren't as like crunchy, like too many system mechanics going on, like that is necessary for like people to kind of get into the hobby. And I don't think I honestly don't understand how 5e has been that like 5e. Yes, is a little bit easier for like running, I would say, as a dungeon master or like a game master. But when it comes to like new players still have trouble understanding even the ability scores and how those all like interact with all the skills and all that stuff.
In my experience with 5e, the thing that's made it accessible is, as a dungeon master, you don't necessarily need to have everything to hand. You don't need to have every rule to hand, because everything is accessible on the internet. And if you know what you're doing, you can create a character. You can either help someone create a character, or create a character for them in like 10 minutes. It's like it's just like bang, everything. Like there was a girl I was playing with in Poland who had no experience of any kind of tabletop stuff, really not much fantasy stuff. And I was like, what kind of thing do you want to do? Oh, I want to shoot a bow. I want to basically be Orlando Bloom. And I was like, all right. Okay. Cool.
Which one? Pirate or elf?
Elf.
Both. Make me both.
Pirate elf.
Yeah. But like when it comes to alchemy, how does the card game mechanic like work in it? Like, are there specific suits and like colors? Like do they have like specific mechanics to them? And like, is it every character gets a full deck of cards, or is there like a specific like suit of like, do you have like a deck, like a hand in your hand? Like how does that all work?
I think, so this is why it's been through so many iterations, because I'm the same as you. I really love customization in games. Like when Fallout 4 came out and I could just attach things to my gun, I was like, oh my God, yes. I could put a scope on it, or a silencer. Oh, this thing does this. Oh, I love it. Like, I really, really enjoy customization. I really enjoy crunchy role-playing systems. I really, really enjoy it. And I think that's the reason that it took so long to make this bloody game, because like I put in all of these systems. And I'm like, oh yeah, do that. So basically, what I did for the final one that's coming out, I stripped it all back and go, right, this is the base game. We will continue to bring out augments of what you can do with this.
Yeah, continue to add-ons and stuff.
Yeah. So if you want to have like, so the first augment that will come out with the sort of the core system will be sort of the archetype system, which links into the deck. I wanted the deck to be a really good, like, key part of this, because you've got a lot of different things that come with that. You have numbers, you've got face cards, you've got jokers, you've got the suits in there. I haven't done too much with the face cards and the jokers at the moment, but with the numbers and the suits, they're baked into sort of the first augment that comes with the system. So you're playing a game. Everyone on the table, when you get into a scene, be that a confrontation, be that fight, be that whatever, everyone draws 5 cards, and then 1 card for each person that you are outnumbered by. So generally, the game master, what we call the alchemist, is going to be outnumbered by the players at the table. Nothing to say that you couldn't be playing, 2v2. I could see that could be really interesting. Or maybe, the player, like one player is going through, like they're going through sort of like a bit of a dark character arc or something, and there's a confrontation between the party. That could be sort of that they're outnumbered at that point. So whoever you're outnumbered by, you draw an additional card into your deck. Okay. So 5 + 1 for every person that you're outnumbered by.
Okay.
You make an action, you play a card, add a number of sort of modifiers to that from your skills or sort of flares, which are more sort of focused uses of the skill, or assets, which is like your equipment. You add that all together and play against an opposing card, so a reaction that has been made. Yeah, so you've got an action total there of 10. They come up with a 3. There's a swing of success of 7 there. The person that's lost is going to take 7 damage. They've also just epically failed as well. So then we get to hit them again. So there's still that critical aspect in there.
It's like if I'm trying to shoot Lee, I would draw a card. If my card's like I have some cards with me. I've got like a 5 of diamonds.
Are you able to see the cards in your hand that you pick up, or do you not see them?
Open to yourself. Okay. Open to yourself. So as I say, resource management. So I've got 2 face cards here. They're top. I've got some really terrible cards. I've got a 2 here. So there's a mechanic in the game. So you can mulligan your hand. Like if you've just got like 2s and 3s, you just like trash these for free. You can shuffle them back into your deck. If you want to do it again, then they're going to have to be discarded. So again, there's another sort of mechanic within the game that your deck is going to decrease. So if you've been going for a while, now you are like, I seem to remember that I've kind of used all my high cards. I'm going to be in a bit of a sticky situation for the next couple of scenes coming into this. So
so
I'm going to be tired as a character.
It's like you have to choose when you're going to lose, and how epic do I want to be now?
To be how epically bad do I want to be later?
Interesting. That's interesting.
So one of the first games we played, we spoke about this on our channel the other day, when we were playing the Western game. As always, I'm playing the roguish cad, and I've gone to a cat house, and I've picked up a lovely young lady who wants to have sex with me for money, and Carl makes me take a card. I'm going I don't care that I'm going to use this face card. I wanted Carl to describe what happened in this scene. Narratively, this was the best choice for me to be using a high card to epically success my lovemaking with this lovely young lady. But down the line, there's going to be a point where I don't have those face cards anymore.
Yeah.
So do you want to be really, really fun in a cat house, or do you want to be, effective in a really crucial battle? Where do you want to be good in this game? It's completely up to you. Where do you want to be good? That's
interesting. That's and when you so you pick up 5 cards and then extra cards if you're do you have to pick up cards when there's like a new scene going on in the session, or is there like?
So the scene is if we talk in sort of D&D parlance, every time you go into a battle, right? Yeah. So you when roll initiative happens in D&D, that's the beginning of the scene. So roll initiative would be pick up your card, draw a hand. So you pick up 5 plus whatever. Once you've burnt those out, if the scene's going on for that long, they do. So within Alchemy, the scenes are pretty quick. This was another thing that I saw from my role playing in Dungeons and Dragons. You go through like a high level, encounter. You can be there for hours. And it can be, and it's very exciting. But it does really slow play down. So if you want to be moving on, if you want this to be sort of like narrative first, then sort of a long battle can sort of make it a bit slower. So I wanted to speed that up. So scenes are normally pretty quick because the health isn't quite very high within Alchemy. Really, you're going to be low double digits. Even if you're like an absolute G in the world. Like it's a couple of wrong moves and you're still going to be smacked with it. So I wanted to make that nice and quick. So you'll pick up 5 cards plus whatever for each scene that you go into. Outside of that is what's called like an interlude. So that'll be like dungeon crawling and sort of interpersonal stuff.
Yeah.
Going to the market, things
RP,
like that.
mainly.
Yeah. RP, yeah. You've got scenes and you've got RP. Yeah.
Okay. And each time you will pick up 5. Do you keep the 5 cards like throughout the entire session, or do you like pick up more cards when you run out, or? So
you go into a scene. We're all playing. I'm the alchemist. There are a bunch of vagabonds trying to attack yourself, Arthadian, and Matt. We're playing a scene. You've played some cards. I've played some cards. You have destroyed the vagabonds, the alley cats that are trying to mug you. Any cards that you used are discarded. Any cards you haven't used, shuffled back into the deck.
Okay, shuffle back into the deck. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So anything that you haven't used, you haven't used that energy.
Okay.
Per se, that willpower that still goes back into your deck.
Okay.
If you've got a particularly bad hand of cards, you can mulligan it once, shuffle it back into the deck. If it's still really bad, you're going to have to discard those again to just be like, this guy's really lagging at the moment. He needs to have some rest. We can't keep going on this adventure.
He'd be drinking too much the day before.
Exactly. This guy's been, in fights for like 3 days now. How can he still be, slamming down kings and queens and getting epic successes? No, he's going to be getting battered by this point.
Yeah.
Unless some serious rest and recuperation
that's really interesting.
Place. So any cards that you use discarded, any cards you haven't back into the deck.
Wow, that's really interesting. I definitely would have wanted to try it, honestly. Did you when you were creating this? Did you pull inspiration from any other systems, like when you were creating alchemy? Like,
I think probably, definitely. I think so. For example, I really liked. There was a certain, I can't remember what the mechanic was, but it was from the Star Wars RPG.
Was it Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars, or was it like a different like Star Wars one?
It's about 3 years ago, unfortunately. But I remember it had these cool little dice, and like you'd have to chuck them, and some of them would have like force things on them.
Oh, yes. So Fantasy Flight Games. That was the game that I actually molded Reborn in Power off of. It mostly off of, because there's you have like these skill trees, right? And then you spend experience
yes, I remember.
on each one. And I remember that was the game that inspired me to start making my game specifically. And so
really, really cracking game. And it was one where I wasn't actually a rogue's cat. Actually, I was kind of like a more loner kind of sniper.
Did you play Edge of the? Did you play Edge of the Empire? Because they have like multiple different. Types.
I think it might have been Edge of the Empire.
Because they have Edge of the Empire, and then they also have Force and Destiny, which is like the Jedi Sith one, and then they have, I think they have one more for like the Republic one. But
I'm pretty sure it was like Outer Rim, kind of scene kind of deal going on.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, there was kind of like this fortune misfortune system in there.
Yeah, they have destiny points where you flip it over to see if to basically let the GM have some be able to do something bad to the players, whereas like vice versa, the players could flip it over.
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
So that added sort of like an additional part to the system, not part of the core thing, but where I wanted to have different economies within the game. So there was one of them, which will go into the core. It is a fortune misfortune system. Literally, you're playing with chips, like very on brand with the cards. You'll start with a certain amount of chips. I want to play a chip to basically do whatever I want. If everyone at the table is okay with that, that's going to go to the opposing team. They can now do whatever they want with that. Hit me back with it. So that was one of the economies. And then there was more of a sliding scale. I wanted to add economies into it, which you didn't necessarily need to use, like another resource economy. So Carl was very passionate about having an economy for bullets in the Western thing. You know, if we're going to use bullets,
I feel like that's very
rare
necessary.
things.
Yeah, that's very necessary in Western.
If you're going to use a bullet, we're going to have an economy for that. So having a different kind of resource economy outside of the cards to do that, and then like a scale economy which sort of goes back and forth for the character without it sort of being paid back and forth. You know, like maybe for like favor for, you know, the sort of the civilization that you're in at the moment. Do you want to be part of the good guys? Do you want to be part of the bad guys? Kind of like like the Paragon renegade system in like Mass Effect and things like that. But sort of this is sort of the basis of economies, just to add more things to it. Outside of that and back to sort of tabletop role-playing games, I mean, how wellbeing works, I think, is a bit different. Because your health points aren't fixed. You sort of refresh those every time you get sort of splattered. You sort of refresh them using the suits of the cards. You sort of take them from a communal deck, the world deck, and sort of work. So one time you might have 9 HP in a certain sphere. So there's 3 different spheres that you work from: physical, mental, social. Because I noticed that there's a lot of fighting in RPGs. We like that. It's exciting. It's fun. You know, let's shoot each other. Let's slice each other down. But there's, you know, I think sometimes that takes away from the people who really, really like role playing. I play the face a lot, and it's lucky because Carl, like normally it's myself, Carl, and Matt that play. So we need one person who can really deal damage, and someone who can like deal with everything else that comes after this guy has bisected someone. Can we get ourselves out of prison after that? So we kind of have to be sort of 2 sides of the same coin to get through this. But I think sort of some systems can take away from those people that really want to be that kind of person. They really want to be the face. They really want to be the savant and things like that. So I just went, right, let's have 3: physical, mental, social. And you could be good in this one, medium in that one, inferior in that one. You know, you could be a really great fighter, but you could be, you know, sort of an idiot when it comes to social, without having to deal with, you know, like what you'd have in D&D, where you'd, you know, if you, what's an 8 in intelligence, what's a 14 in intelligence, what's this, what's that, rather than people going, oh, I'm an idiot, but actually they're probably as intelligent as us 3 here. You know, they could probably speak as good as us. But making it very clear on how well they're actually going to do in those kinds of situations. But still having skills in there and things like that. I think I think Fallout was a big inspiration for it as well. I think I've taken a lot from a lot of different places, because after I played D&D, after I started to play this game, I found a role-playing sort of club near me where they'd meet every week. And then I was like, oh, there's like hundreds of games that I can play. I didn't realize this, you know. And
then you realize, like, oh crap, I'm going to be sinking inside the industry.
This one first, you know. I can't remember what game it was, but like you're in this really dystopian world where you work in this big sort of like mega corporation, and like your guys die all of the time. I think you've got like 5 clones.
Is it like Cyberpunker?
No, it's not cyber. It's not a cyberpunk game. It's kind of clean and fresh. It feels a bit like Portal almost, but without the portals. But that kind of sort of vibe there, and you've got like 5 lives. That's probably one. That's probably another inspiration. I'll have to find out which one that is to give you the inspiration for that. But you've got like 5 clones basically, and basically everyone just tries to like fuck each other over. In the end of it is beautiful and delicious. Like it really shows us like what we truly are as humans. I really enjoyed that as a sort of a different thing for it, but I've sort of taken little bits from everywhere and gone over it again and again and again. So it's probably unrecognizable now. Like sort of the inspiration was probably about 7 years ago.
It's your own thing.
It's probably about 7 years ago and sort of 13 iterations ago.
Wow.
But yeah, having play, I think it's crucial to play role-playing games and try these different systems if you're ever going to try and create a game of your own, because otherwise it's just going to be a Dungeons and Dragons clone, isn't it? You know, because basically that's what I tried to do with the first iteration. I'm like, sci-fi Dungeons and Dragons. 10 years later, you couldn't see Dungeons and Dragons anywhere on it. It's been scrubbed off of it completely by now, I think.
That's good. That's good.
Unless you want to play a Dungeons and Dragons type game with the system. That's the only place you're going to find it.
Like if you're getting Forgotten Realms and into the alchemy system kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to alchemy, what's the ideal number of players that should be like playing around the table?
So we've normally played it with 3 of us. So you'll have the alchemist, aka game master, and there'll be 2 of us playing. One of us will run it, and 2 of us play it. That's really nice and quick, punchy. So if you got 2 players and someone who can run it, that's really, really good. We've played it with 4 players. We played like an urban fantasy. I run an urban fantasy for a couple of guys. That was really fun.
I think 4's the most we've played with.
I think so. I think after that point, so if you're getting up to 5, the person who's outnumbered, which is more often than not going to be the alchemist, he's going to have 10 cards a scene, and he's probably going to have to be burning through those pretty quickly. I think you're going to sort of get into a situation where that's going to be quite hard to manage. I think that's sort of 2 to 4 players. Yeah. 2 to 4 players and someone running the game is really good. Two's nice and punchy. Four's also pretty quick as well. Probably your sweet spot's probably going to be about 4 people at the table.
Yeah. Okay.
I would imagine. Great to play with 3 though. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like with tabletop RPGs, 4 is probably the ideal number for most games.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried like doing like just just straight 2 players, just one alchemist?
We haven't yet.
Okay. Yeah.
We haven't yet. I reckon you could play a quite an interesting game with that. And when I was sort of thinking about sort of like what happens with this, I mean,
the thing is like, so I with Reborn in Power, I run solo sessions like for 4 players. So it's like, it's just them. The thing about those kinds of sessions is that the game master, the lore master, or like the alchemist in your guys' case would be that they would, it's when you're running a session, you have to have NPCs and solo sessions are mainly they're solo sessions, so a lot of role playing and just a lot
that's
more.
Just session 0 then, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
when you're trying to create the characters and things like that, and trying to build the world.
It's interesting because like when I have like my players who like are like, it's just them and they don't have anyone else, you have to come up with like NPCs who are going to also assist them, because sometimes they you only have one mind who's coming up with solutions to problems like that the player that you're facing. If you have like multiple minds kind of like working together to try to figure out how does this problem like fix itself, like how can we like find a solution to the problem. But if you're by yourself in the session, and you're just like, oh crap, I don't really have much. So then you also have like the GM in this case would have to come up with NPCs that will like, give hints and ideas of how to fix the problem, but then let the player kind of go through the motions of figuring it out in their own head. And it's like,
I think it's an interesting and difficult problem for a game master to run sort of a one-on-one game. I think it can definitely be done, and it would be a different kind of vibe to a game where you kind of play something like that. It would be very different. I'd always sort of suggest, and I do within the system, that you kind of have like a session 0 with your alchemist, where you kind of go through it with yourself. So you've got the character sheet, and on the back of it you've got the origin. So like you've got your backstory, your personality, because as I say, it's not just a role-playing system. This is primarily a storytelling system. So everything from your backstory, be it from locations to groups to artifacts, things like that, this is going to all help the alchemist run a really interesting game and a rich game, but also a game that's interesting to each character. He can start to bring these things in. I remember he said that he was, like Carl's character was no completely like betrayed by this person. I can remember that this group is in there. So brilliant. I've got that there. Yeah. But I was just thinking when you're saying like, what's the most characters that can play? I'm thinking of this as one against many, the alchemist against the players. There's nothing. Yeah. I remember there's a game called Polaris. I think it's called Polaris, where you don't have a dungeon master. You play against your opposite at the table. So I would be the player, and let's say you're across from me, Arthadian. You kind of narrate my story as going through, and you're my opposition, and then it will move, and it will be the person across from them. So there's nothing to say that alchemy couldn't work with 6 people, where you would have 2 opposing sides. Where you've got sort of like protagonists and antagonists. Because this is a collaborative storytelling game. You don't necessarily need to have one person running the game. Yeah. Because the alchemist's character sheet is basically the same as the character sheet. They have, like, if they're using sort of the character sheet that we add in it with the augments, where the suits are more of a focus, where you've sort of got a triumph suit where certain things happen with that, and there's strengths and weaknesses to a character sheet. You can go into it and pretty much do whatever you want with the point buy system, but to make it easier for you to go in and go, I want to be Legolas. Okay, let's put you as the warrior archetype, where you're very strong physically, and then it goes mental and social. Whereas I want to be the face. Okay, so we'll put you as the leader archetype. So you're, social, physical, mental. Some other guy wants to be, the savant. Okay, so he's a philosopher. So he's mental, social, physical. So that I don't think there's anything to say that we couldn't play, like a game with 6 people and have them like 3-on-3. I think that would be a really interesting way to play alchemy as well. Yeah. There's something that's just come up now. I think that would be a really interesting way to play. There's nothing.
It could be like an additional augment, like let's say like
bring it together. To say that the system can't. They can't run it that way, and I think that would be a really interesting way to play tabletop role-playing games. You'd be playing against each other all the time.
Here's the curse. Here's the curse happening.
There
again.
It comes back, right? So I've just got to get the core system out, and then I can just spend another
you can start adding
10 years making augments from there. Once the first thing's out, it's fine. The core game is done. But I think that's. I don't think the system would prohibit that, and I think that would be a really interesting way of playing a tabletop role-playing game.
So with let's say making a character, what's the process in which I would go about making a character? Like how do it? Like, do I choose like whether or not I want, like, is it just like choosing an archetype and then basing the entire like sheet based off of that, or
so you could if without the augment that I put into it, I've called it Art A, so Alchemy Role Playing A archetype system. This is to just sort of make it bound it in rules enough that you can go, okay, I want to be a fighter, or I want to be the face, or I want to be the clever guy. So you could do it that way, but you could just completely have just a blank character sheet. There's a point buy system for that, where you'd go through how much health are they going to have in so there's spheres of action. Okay, you've got the physical sphere, the mental sphere, and the social sphere.
Okay, those are basically like the ability scores, like the attributes kind of situation.
This is going to be pretty much anything that's going to happen. Are you going to have a fight? Are you going to have a negotiation? Are you going to try and investigate something? This is pretty much all that happens within a role-playing setting. Really, there's not really many other avenues which are going to go down in kinds of conflicts or confrontations or collaborations. So your character sheet is split into 3 sections: the physical sphere, mental sphere, social sphere. Yeah. Then that is split again into sort of 2 halves: the power section and the finesse section. Your power is dealing with your health, which is called well-being within the system, and your assets. So not necessarily equipment. So within the physical aspect, it's going to be your equipment, but in mental, maybe that's knowledge or magic or things like that. Within social is that's your connections, that's your memberships, that's your favors, things like that. So you'll have a certain amount of slots there. Below that, you have your skills. Each sphere has the same 6 skills, which is agility, clarity, endurance, intuition. God, I was writing it today. Hang on.
Gotta find it.
Goodness. Choosing your skills: agility, clarity, endurance, intuition, presence, and strength. So how quick your character is, how focused your character is, how hardy your character is, how aware your character is, how striking your character is, and how strong they are. So depending on if it's physical, social, or mental, like for agility, socially quick characters, maybe they're deceptive. Physically quick characters, they're going to be dexterous, while the mentally quick or, agile characters are going to be deductive, So you've got sort of like two like words which go, okay, what kind of thing do I want to do? Okay, so I need to be a bit, I need to be a bit mentally quick in this situation. I've got a very short amount of time in which to make a decision. So you're going to be using the mental sphere and agility, probably, unless you think, no, I'm just going to, be mentally strong in this situation or something. There's as always, there's a back and forth between the person running the game and the player. The rule of cool is heavily sprinkled throughout this system. I don't really ever want to be saying no as an alchemist. I never wanted to be saying it as a dungeon master. If someone came up with cool things, because this was one thing that we came out, because we were playing, it was 4th edition then, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it was 4th.
Yeah, we were playing 4th. I started in 3.5 and never made it out of the tavern. You always meet in a tavern, don't you? We never made it out. Our dungeon master burnt it down, so I could have been out of like role-playing games at that point. But within 4th edition, there was a real disparity between sort of like the different classes within that. So we had 4 people playing. 4 people playing, I believe, and I was playing as well. I was helping them out as a rogue. There was a ranger, there was a wizard, there was a fighter, there was a paladin. So there's 5 characters playing through this system. The rogue and the ranger were really, really good at dealing damage. After a while, everyone else was either a meat shield or bloody useless. But I didn't like this. I didn't like people sitting at the table feeling like they were useless. But these guys were clever and be like, can we do this? So for example, like the wizard I think there was like a cloud of blades spell or something, and if you walked through that cloud of daggers, if you walked through that, you'd get like a 1d4 damage or something like that. It was a pretty like low level spell, and after a while pretty bloody useless. But you could use it all the time. I think it was an at-will spell. And at one point they were like, can Matt's character, was he called Ironclad back then?
I was, I think it was just called Matt.
Or was he just called Matt? He was called Matt.
Matt Iron Face.
So he was a Warforged. Okay. Just this big guy with a big bloody hammer. So, and we had Tom the Wizard, and he goes, could Matt hit the cloud of daggers? Now, in the rules, there's nothing to say that he can or cannot do that. Probably not, if we're going to be rules lawyery. There's going to be something that says we can't. But that sounds fun. Can they hit with a big hammer a load of daggers through this thing? Yeah, go on, try it. You can try.
Yeah.
So this became something. Let's make this fun. And let's have sort of signature things that you guys can do. Allowing people to have sort of different kinds of areas of expertise, because after a while in some games you can feel like you've made a bit of an error with your character. You go down a certain path, you're like, I might need to re-roll. I might need to re-roll because I've made a real serious error here with the certain powers that I've created or things like that. And especially if you're with characters who really know what they're doing and are really into min-maxing, you can feel really, really inferior at a table.
See, that the way I've figured that out, like I've kind of like fixed that inside my system is I've only done this with my real my most, I would say, my most active players who have like stayed with me for like an entire campaign. I have a prestige system in Reborn in Power at the very end. So at level 12, which is like the max level you get to as a character, you can then go on to prestige. And when you end up prestiging, you can actually reset all your skills, feats, and abilities, and then like you could either keep them or redo them so that you
rejig them.
Yeah, basically like fix up your character to make it better if you see like new like skills, feats, and abilities that you actually want to try out as your character and fix up your fix it up. And so that's like how I've fixed the whole problem of like, oh, maybe I didn't expect, like you didn't expect your character the right way the first time. You can actually respec and then also get like new benefits that will make it better for you when you do choose a specific route to go down as your character.
Yeah. And effectively play a different character, but with the character that you still know and love.
Yes, exactly.
You know, you can have a different flavor of Marmaduke 9 at Prestige. You could be how do I change Marmaduke 9 at that point?
If at that point, let's say the storyline like takes Marmaduke 9 through a process of finding himself and becoming like a religious person of some kind, he could then take the holy voice vocation and then start taking a bunch of like different skills, feats, and abilities that go down the route that he's thinking. But he still he still has that background of being an operative pilot type character, but then now he's learned to kind of focus on a specific a specific god or deity that he has, and that's the cool thing about like when it comes to customization is I want, like when it comes to D&D 5e, I would say D&D 5e has like their multi-class system. I'm not too much of a fan of. It's fun to multi-class.
It can be really difficult.
Yeah,
it can be really difficult if you do it wrong. You're buggered.
Yeah,
really.
I don't think I understand it.
I mean,
sure I don't understand it.
That
in Streets of Mir, we have Gestalt characters, so we've always been dual class going through this. But I think it has required us to play this game for a long time to understand the sort of the synergy in certain classes and things like that. You need to know what you're doing to be able to multi-class. Otherwise, you can really back yourself into a corner and be like, this character is worthless.
Yeah, and I think that is like a huge one of the biggest reasons why I don't like D&D 5e. And I'm sure, like, I think 3.5. I've actually never played 3.5, but I've heard that 3.5 is like you can customize your character how you want, and there's like a bunch of different things that you could do with it.
I remember the skills being in such a small font because there were so many.
Oh my god.
Like there were so many. I think there might have been like a basket weaving skill or something like that. They were really into like what do you really want to be skilled in? And there'd be like 50 skills for you to do. Yeah. And the player's handbook was so heavy. So this was my entryway into tabletop role playing games. Some guy asked us if we wanted to play it. We were in sort of sixth form, sort of 16, 17, and we were sort of going through our exams. So there was a lot of time where we would be studying. We weren't, so this guy asked us if we wanted to play it. I went to, rather than spending however much it was on the book, I went down to my local library. Luckily, they had one. Sort of whacked on the table, boom, and like hours and hours and hours going through this character and trying to make him and everything like that. And we had a very unkind DM, really. Like like we were in a tavern, and we're anywhere between 14 and 16. So obviously, we're thinking about is girls, obviously, right? Yeah. He puts us into a tavern with a buxom wench serving beer. The first thing I obviously want to do is chat her up, right? So I fail the roll. I get into a fight. Then there's fire. Then the bar burns down. Then it's game over. I'm like, what?
What did I just do?
Why did we do this? I've spent hours
making a character. Oh my god!
Like I've sunk so many skill points into basket weaving or whatever the bloody hell like skills that I did. It was a really rich customization system. Mm-hmm. But if you were going to lose that character, my god, the amount of time and effort you put into that character is going to make you really sour about the whole thing. Yeah.
Matt, like what do you think of Reborn in Power and the amount of skills, feats, and abilities that there are available? Obviously, there's not that. I haven't included all like the level 5 through 8 and through 9 through 12 skills, feats, and abilities yet. But what do you think of the, I guess, the customization aspect, and how is it overwhelming, the amount of choices?
I think, I mean, it's been sort of a guided building of a character.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I think once it's built, it's easy to operate. And there are a lot of really good options to keep your character fresh and feel unique from the rest. Like the new age characters all feel completely different from each other. I think, I mean, making a level 1 character, I think I managed it.
Yeah.
I mean, checking with you and going like, can I do that? Is that all right? Is that the thing I picked?
Yeah. For when it comes to like level 1 characters in Reborn in Power, it's very you're weak to a certain extent. You have like some gear that will assist you, but like you don't have very many choices. But my system actually allows you to, like, I actually have like a full on system where you can just straight up make a like max level character right off the bat if you wanted to. It will just take a long time to do so. If you're like, it will take a very long time to make a max level character.
Yeah. So did you say you sort of work off like skill trees and things like that? So one thing goes to another and goes to another. Or...
I started out wanting to make a skill tree kind of thing. I was mixing it between how Force and Destiny does it and D&D 5e does it, but then I completely scrapped the whole linear motion of like basically like a class system. Because like D&D has a linear class system where as you level up, you get the new features that the class that you
certain perks that you get throughout.
Yeah. But for this one, it's more like for Reborn Power. I went the route of trying to make the class have a benefit. So if you go down that path, then you will have a benefit for going down that path, rather than like making you like forcing you to stay on that path. You can choose to stay on that path, or you could choose to go a bunch of different other routes because you want to you want to make a character super unique. Like if like
you want it to be like a sort of a Swiss Army knife kind of thing.
Yeah, and
that's what I love doing with the character. Like my 5e character, like give me pretty much any skill roll on my, because so we have 2 characters in Streets of Mir. One of them is just an absolute just tank, but Cassius, my standard roguish cad character, give me a skill roll, I'll kill it. Like, there's no problem. Like it's going to be like a 30 plus, no problem.
Yeah. When it comes to alchemy, like it is, so you there's like a bunch of different there's skills that you can like spec out basically with the points that you allocate towards it. Are there like extra features for the archetypes that are like added on? Like are those going to be like augments, or?
It will be in the augments as well. So I realized that the thing that was taking me the longest was trying to work out what is the best thing to put in this. And I was like, I need to strip this back and be like, look, this is how you create a base character. Here is the first augment. This is how we have created characters for about 5 years. It works nice. You can make different kinds of characters with this. You can be, physically strong, you could be socially adept, or you can be like, a savant coming into this. And then just recently, like I said, I wasn't going to change anything. I always do. But this is like the final thing that I change is like a level up system where you'll go through this. Once you level up, you gained enough experience, you'll go through sort of this track. And then there'll be like sort of like a specific at the 5th, 10th, 15th, and 20th level, there'll be like a specific thing you get for the archetype. So with the warrior archetype who is physically strong, their wound limit increases. So So the wounds are, so we have well-being in each of the spheres. Once you've been battered in a scene and you've been dropped to 0 well-being, the health statistic, anything below that will become a wound. Okay. Now, depending on what card has hit you, so you've hit me with, you know, a queen of hearts or something like that, and it's damaged me 5 below what my well-being would be, I would have a wound value of 5 in hearts in whatever sphere we were playing in. Let's say it's physical. So any skill that is linked to the hearts in that physical sphere, I can't use now. I can't use it. So you've been speccing them to, you know, have hearts and spades and clubs and diamonds, but anything, like if you're trying to use a heart in a physical sphere and you've got a wound in it, you're in trouble because you're only going to be able to use the suit value. So spades are 1, hearts are 2, clubs are 3, diamonds are 4, and then there'll be a triumph suit within that. So the triumph suit for warriors is clubs, so still it's not going to help you. So if you're trying to use a heart in any kind of physical sphere while you've got a wound, you're in trouble. You're going to be like hitting 3, like other than, you know, 10. Ooh. You know, so yeah. There are, once you've finished the scene and you're into RP, there are interlude actions that you get regardless if you pass or fail. You get 1 if you fail, you get 2 if you pass. But really, if you've got a wound, the first thing you're going to want to be doing is trying to reduce that wound, because you've lost 13 cards in your hand straight away. Like you're in trouble at this point. And if those wounds reach a certain value, which is 13 to start with, that character has to retire.
Oh wow.
Okay. Wow. But with the warrior, that wound limit starts to increase. So it goes to 15, then 17, then 19, then 21. Okay, so that's specifically for the warrior. The philosopher, which is the mental archetype, they get to use more of their cards for their skills. Okay, so if they're not trained in a skill, meaning that they don't have the corresponding suit in that specific skill, for example, you know, mental agility, they need to think fast and they don't have anything in that. Again, they're going to have to use the value of the suit. But if it is trained, then they can use, you know, the heart to do that. It starts to open up the amount of cards they can use for the suit as they go down through 5, 10, 15, and 20. And then for the leader, that is specifically for the flares. So flares are focused, more narrow uses of a skill. So for mental agility, let's say we've created a flare called quick thinking, for example. Let's do something else rather than social presence, for example. So like strikingly beautiful. Mm-hmm. Okay, they have a flare called strikingly beautiful, and if they can go, I'd like to use my strikingly beautiful flare in this situation, there will be levels which you will be able to get through the system, which you get through actually failing in these things. You level up skills through failure, basically. So you can start really. It's going to be a lot easier to increase your skill level at the start.
But then
you
it's
get
harder.
more and more, and then it's going to start to plateau at some point.
Okay.
So that they will have more access to flares. So you start with 3 to begin with across all spheres, but the leader archetype will gain more and more like specific uses of flares going through that. The alchemist archetype, so that's the diamond, and that's more of a balanced archetype reserved for the alchemist. Should the players so wish to do that, basically throughout this whole book we just go, look, this is what we say, but we're not actually telling you what to do. If you all want to be an alchemist, you play with that archetype sheet. That works on the assets. So these are items which can really turn the tide, and that works off your order card. So we all roll initiative in games, don't we? Who's going to go first? In this, we sort of draw from a communal pile. Highest card goes first. If the suit matches the slot of the equipment, you can use it, and you can use another card on top of that. So you can really get quite a big sort of jump from sort of 10 up to, 20, if you're going to really use a lot of cards to really like batter a robot or something like that, if you really need to make some real thing happen, then you can use your asset. But these have a very small amount of uses, up to it's 1 to 4. Once they're done, they can be taken off of you if you lose and things like that. And these are like your Hail Marys, basically. And they will the alchemist will be able to have permanent assets, so they can keep using these and just batter the players.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Now I really want to play and make a character. You
I really want to make a character in yours. So I think what we should do, Arthadian, I think we should do like a what do you call it? Foreign exchange.
Oh yeah.
We'll be foreign exchange students in each other's games. Once we've completed Streets of Mir, I want to run what originally was Dark Star, which is now called Dark Light. It's a science fantasy, and I'd love you to come along, Arthadian. Please come along. If you want to be a guest, if you want to be sort of a semi-guest,
I
whatever,
would very much
come along.
If it's science fantasy, I'm all for it. I
love this.
I am good for it. Okay, for sure.
And if I join your game, I can't be a cat. Because you've already got Marmaduke.
Hey, no,
so
you can be whatever you want. Okay.
I'm gonna have to branch out.
we'll have to
branch out into something else.
Maybe we'll see if maybe your character can be like a part of Marmaduke's backstory and have like a little bit of a rivalry going on. Maybe. What if you made a character that's like a pilot, and then you guys like do like a full on.
So you beat
bad enough that Liam's there and he's thinking about flying stuff.
Yeah. Wait, have you got into that part
No, he's not.
in the podcast yet, Lee?
I haven't. I'm really early on in it.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely interesting once the new age stuff starts coming along. Marmaduke and Liam.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think okay. I think it's settled then. We'll be foreign exchange students in each other's
let's do
games.
it.
I'm excited.
We can I am definitely down to start making characters in alchemy, and also if Matt, if you need a guest star, I'll come in and be a weirdo inside the all the little things that you're doing.
Be one of Calthar's other robot buddies. Please come along for Dark. Please come along for Dark Light.
Yes,
I'd love to have you in Dark Light.
Yes,
Arthadian. That'd be fantastic.
I'd love to be in it. All right. Well, also wait, one other thing. Matt, you're also making a rules light version of the alchemy, right? I remember you saying something about that.
That's making rules light versions and 1 pages of everything. He's been bit by this virus hard. I'm going to step back for a while while he tells you about all of his projects that he's doing, which are all incredible, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is where he passed the bug on to me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, you know what would be really cool? If we had like a 1-page version of alchemy, which we could put out there
to get it out,
and
there.
It would be to get the idea out there, basically.
Yeah. That tends to happen. I remember when I started making my game, I gave the bug to my buddy, and now he's making his own game, and it's just like an entire thing.
It is the most delicious, exciting, and dangerous mind virus that you can ever get. Like, have you guys been watching The Last of Us?
I haven't.
Like we're just all giving each other those little fucking tentacle kisses in the game, and just like giving each other the fucking virus.
We've been giving each other fungus.
Oh my gosh.
Only takes one thought, and you're like, maybe I could make a game.
Maybe I can make it. Yeah. But
yeah, well, the 1 page that I made is basically the very, very bare bones engine that Lee made, but I think I took away the flares and I think I kind of shrunk all that down just for brevity into just a skill thing. So.
And it's very elegant. I must say, the 1 page is a very, very elegant game that you can just pick up.
Now you got to do it for Reborn in Power.
Quite beautiful. Yeah.
Oh God, because I will.
He will. He'll do it. He's there.
I really don't know how you would do
games.
that, but like I'd love to see it.
No, neither do I. I'll be honest, neither do I. But what I've ended up doing, off of doing that, and then having the brainwave of, oh, that's quite fun, making a 1 page. Let's just make another one. Why not? And let's just see what happens. So that's where Solar Sailors came in, and I think I'm probably going to redraft Solar Sailors a little bit, because so that was basically the idea behind that was like a sci-fi sort of brigand sort of 1 page thing that you had options for. You could be different kind of crews. There were different kind of, I had like a grid of story prompts that people could use if they wanted to. I managed to fit that on 1 page. I had 1 page of lore as well. Playtested that and it was okay. It needed a bit more here and there. I was really happy because the skill system, I had like basically like 5 skills, and it was the saber system. And it was like, yeah, that's fucking cool. Saber.
Oh my God. That's one thing, isn't it? Acronyms. Oh my
God.
Arthadian, did you ever put an acronym system into your skill system? My skill system used to be called the diecast system, because it's the only way that I could get 6 skills in that had a word in it.
Well, I mean, acronyms, like, I have a lot of acronyms inside my stuff, but like, not like...
Oh my God.
I mean, so RIP, Reborn in Power, RIP, like rest in peace. The whole concept of it is to be reborn in power after you die, and like that's like the whole, it's like
I think you've touched on a really relatable thing there in the game creator virus there, Matt, is like making an acronym for your skill system. Fuck you, Fallout, with your special system. How dare you do this to us? How dare you put special in your skill system and make us all try and do it as well?
Yeah.
Well, I had it perfect. It was the saber. You could spell it in the American way or the British way. Either way, you've got saber, and it was just missing something. It just wasn't enough, so I had to add 2 more to it, which messed up the acronym. So what I've ended up with is BEAR, SOS, and that's the acronym. Now, I'm going to I'll come back to Solar Sailors at some point, because I've sort of shelved it for the moment. It's like I play tested it. It was okay. Let's shelve it for a minute while I think about what to do with it. However, what's happened very recently, I think since the start of the new year, is I just made 3 more.
3?
I don't know why. Yeah. So
do we have Gumshoe?
So the first one is tentatively titled Gumshoe Spyglass.
That's
because it's like
that's like the investigator
one.
The detective one, yeah.
Which is like fully action point based. There's no dice in it. It's just you have these skills. They cost this much to use, so it's even more accessible. The one that I've been tinkering with while we've been here, because I thought of a new rule and then I was trying to fit it on the 1 page, was Starfighters, which is the one that we're most excited about.
It's so delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Arthadian, there is so much customization.
Oh
my God.
In 1 page?
On a 1 page.
Oh, and you buy stuff and you make ships that are completely different. Oh, it's so delicious.
Oh, that sounds
You
fun.
level up by getting money so you can buy more stuff to add to your ship.
Fantastic.
You level up by getting money. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're immediately thinking like 5,000 Chorus coin in the future. Like you're thinking, oh, right, I need to get this thing and then this thing, and then that's how I'm going to be real. Like that's what I'm going to be. Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah. And you start making builds, and it's just like, oh.
So when can I join in these playtests? I want to join in these playtests.
Because we haven't playtested any of them yet. I've just been like basically tinkering with them.
Yeah.
Like Carl and Lee, last time we chatted before we made a video, I showed them Starfighters, and they were like, "Let's make Starfighters."
And we did it in about 5 minutes. We made a Starfighter in 5 minutes. We just looked through the thing, and they were completely different. Mine was just this really loud, annoying, like fighter killer.
Huh.
and eventually would eventually just sort of be like this sort of like lick based like starfighter which would resurrect other fighters and just make a crew of zombie fucking killing machines. and Carl's was very, very quiet, very slow capital ship killer. You know, and you could go down. It's delicious. In like 5 minutes we were done.
Oh my gosh.
It's great. The mechanic, I added a stealth mechanic in there with the stealth score.
Yeah.
But so it was a whole thing. So the idea behind that is just it's like you and a couple of people. You have a little squadron. You go out. You do missions super quick. The GM is the universe. It's just like quick, bang, bang, bang. Get money, improve.
Upgrade.
Yeah. And you can do a campaign in that, or you can just run little kind of episodic missions.
Yeah.
I'm quite pleased with that one, and we'll see where that one goes.
All right.
And I'm quite pleased with Gumshoe Spyglass as well. I need to try that one out though.
Yeah.
The most recent one that I made is called Fireside. So the idea behind that is that one is very, very much a storytelling one.
Like
but collaborative storytelling.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah, because stories are told around the fireside.
Yeah.
And that brought back in the bear SOS skills. Again, system agnostic.
Matt's entire like SRD is gonna be bear SOS. It's just gonna be for like all his one page games.
I spent 2 years with the diecast system. I spent 2 years. I was not ready to let that acronym go. Wow. And then I went, I don't need that 7th skill.
Yeah.
I need to let the acronym go. So I took it out the back and shot it.
Well, what I did with this one this time is the bear SOS skill, because it's not bear SOS, it's bear SOS. So I've added the exclamation mark into the acronym skills.
What does the exclamation mark do?
It's like a skill of your choice. So that's like, so it's like, it's because it's system agnostic.
Yeah.
It could be like programming.
Okay.
Or it could be like
magic,
arcane, or something like that, or driving, or something.
Interesting.
So,
robbing,
and then robbing, yeah. Well, and that's run off D6s, but that's similar in that you are similar to alchemy actually, in that you level up by rolling a 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the idea with that is you have, like, I think when you do something, you roll 3 d6s, and you take the results of all of them. So if you get like a 5,
so 662.
Yeah, a 662, let's say. So a 6 is like a yes and. So you succeed and something happens.
Something dope happens.
Yeah. So like say you're in a bar fight. So the guy goes to, well, you go to punch the guy, you succeed and you knock him flat.
Okay.
Then his mate tries to come and tackle you and you succeed in dodging him and he flies into a table and knocks himself out.
And then
but the 2 is a no, because yeah, but then you get hit by the third mate because
I see this buxom beauty on the other side of the bar,
because you get distracted.
A chair over my head.
Yeah, but the idea is that the player would describe the yes and no but. So it'd be, you have this great success and, so what do you do, basically?
That's something that you've really woven into all of the games that I've seen you run, actually, Matt. Like, whenever it comes to an epic success or epic failure, it is handed over to the player to do this. Because more often than not, like Carl's very good at succeeding very well when we're fighting. The amount of times he has bisected someone in Streets of Mir is countless. There are so many times that which he has bisected someone, because it's like, how do you want to do it? And now it's become more of a trope than anything else, that he now has to do this.
I'm going to bisect.
Yeah,
I'm going to bisect this person now. Of course you are.
I think Gracchus has a sponsor somewhere.
Yeah. like a certain brand of broadsword is has got him in the streets of Mir. Absolutely.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, that kind of thing, like when you kind of give it to the players to describe what they're doing, it helps them with basically taking in certain specific lessons and ways in which the GM has to describe certain events from the actual NPC's perspective. Like if I'm describing if a certain NPC is attacking you and they go to strike your shoulder blade or your stomach, I have to describe that in order for you to kind of imagine where it's happening. But if I just say oh, you took a hit, like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, you took a hit, you took damage, but it is more fun. They have
a responsibility, don't they?
Yeah,
they have a responsibility to add to the storytelling of what's happening at that table.
Yeah, I typically save those descriptions for like after like a round of certain attack actions have been taken, so that like I can describe the full thing in full instead of having to describe it every time someone makes an attack action and how much damage it does every time and every like just basically every single turn that someone takes. I usually try to take the entire description and like describe it over the flow of the entire combat encounter. But sometimes I'll get lazy and be like, yeah, you hit. You're good. I don't need to describe it.
Next.
But yeah, is there anything else that you guys want to kind of discuss about alchemy? Your 1 pages, Matt. Anything else?
No, pretty much covered the 1 pages.
I think in short, this more than a role playing system, it is a storytelling system.
Yes.
Because the most fun that I have had through my half a life of like over half my life of playing these games is just sort of the little bits that come out of these stories. Like there will be people that will wish me happy birthday and remind me to drink the blue drink and not the green drink. And there are 2 people in the world that know what that means. And we can say Tallahassee. Me and Matt and Carl can talk about Tallahassee and remember these kind of things. Like we as humans, we love stories. Like this is how we've always been doing this since the fireside. Since people made fire, we've been telling stories.
Yeah.
And what was once, a skin over Dungeons and Dragons has turned into a system that I'm really, really proud of, and a system that can be used for bloody anything. We've played westerns, we've played urban fantasy, we've played sort of post-apocalyptic, we've played sci-fi and things like that. And I think it's something that we're all really, really proud of. It's taken me so bloody long to do it. I think because I've wanted it to be right, but it's not up to me to make your stories right. So I've really stripped it back. So it's handed over to the people that play this game now to make these stories. And I just hope that once this comes out, which won't be too long, because we need to finish off Streets of Mir now that the OGL debacle has taken us away from 5e, like alchemy is a go now. And once this comes out, I hope anyone that picks it up just gets these moments that I've had out of role-playing games, and I hope it helps you, make these stories and make these moments where you can think 5-10 years down the line of this silly little thing with your friends and just have a laugh about it, because what else is there in life,
Well,
and very excited to come into your world and perhaps not be a roguish cat, and to bring you into our world as well.
That would be fun.
And be foreign exchange students. Very, very excited for this.
Yes,
absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Of course. This was really fun. We gotta keep doing this. We gotta have like Carl on as well, and then we gotta like have like full on conversations. Continue. I guess being foreign exchange students.
The start of a beautiful foreign exchange student friendship. Absolutely, Arthadian.
Yes.
Wait till Carl gets the bug.
Now we all have the bug.
He does though. He does. What Carl does? He doesn't create systems. Carl creates worlds.
Oh, maybe I should
Carl
have him.
really gets into worlds. So luckily, once this system comes out and we can start making, like supplemental material where it's like new rules and new worlds and things, we just need to just go, right, Carl, we need like a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And he'll make maps and think there's one game that I know he wants us to play. It's like a fantasy game. And he's got the map for it, and there's like these 5 different places, and he'll talk through it, and he will talk for ages, and he's so passionate about the worlds he creates. So he's got the bug. He's just got a different variant from all of us.
I think the thing is that I have both of those bugs.
We got the system agnostic bug. Arthadian got the genre specific bug.
Yeah.
Carl got the world bug. You know.
Okay, well then we're gonna need to all like come together and make some cool stuff out of all of our stuff together. And
that's the bug talking there, Arthadian.
I know.
That's the bug talking there. Let's all make a game together.
Let's do it.
No.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to our conversation. This is a really fun one. And if you haven't yet, check out the New Age campaign where Marmaduke 9 is over there being an interesting fella. With his mustache, he has his mustache, and maybe in the future some guest stars might come into the picture. So we'll see. Thank you all for listening, and if death comes to you, may you be reborn in power. Thank you for listening to this dive into alchemy. You can check out more at the Alchemy Lab YouTube channel, as Matt and Lee explore the system into deeper details there and have their own tabletop RPG adventures. If you like what you're hearing and want to support, you can subscribe at arthadiananthologies.com/subscribe. A link will be found at the show notes below. As always, be safe, stay safe, and if death comes to you, may you be reborn in power.